on the Long Island Railroad, once again heading to Sayville for the second performance of Stranger Sings, the parody musical. We had our opening night last night and it was phenomenal. I am so proud of the kids. The cast was just amazing. We had a couple that were kind of under the weather in the days leading up to opening night, so there was some concern. But they stepped in, did their absolute best, had a couple cracking notes, but other than that, they did great. And they're feeling so much better. Performance adrenaline kicks in and helps with that kind of thing. Every time. I don't know how many times I've been in shows or on stage performing in a band or in music and had no voice before the show started, and then all of a sudden the lights come up, house lights go down, stage lights come up, and that performance adrenaline just hits, and you're fine until after the show, and then you're like so we got a show at 2 o'clock today, and it's currently 12:57. My train's running a little late. I'm gonna get to the theater about 15 minutes before the house opens, which is fine. All of the kids know where their props belong. They're going to be able to set the stage themselves. I'm looking forward to a great matinee. Looking forward to a really good matinee. A little break in between. I might try to find a place to take a nap. The kids are going to go out to some place to eat in between the shows. Hey, there's an ad for Rock and Roll Man still. That show's been closed for a few months. That I noticed that because that's from, it played at New World Stages where I work, one of my day jobs, and that closed a couple months ago. And the ad is still out for it. That's funny. Anyway, looking forward towards a great matinee. It's a great cast. 3 members of the creative team from the original show came out to see our show last night and to support the kids for opening night. We were the first organization in the country, or in the world actually, to license the show. And I think they were so excited to know that it was being licensed nearby, so that they could actually come out and see it. They drove in from the city to support the kids, hung around for about a half an hour after the show, and just loved on the kids. Gave them all kinds of encouragement and told them everything that they did right. Nick Flatto, the original director of the original production, just heaps praise on them about their comic timing and how they were able to feed off each other, and it was great. There were autographs signed both ways. The kids were getting their autographs. The 3 from Stranger Sings was getting the kids' autographs. It was just a really great night. So many great memories were made, and I'm just so happy to have been a part of it. Thank you, Pride Performing Arts, for the opportunity. It's a great show. It's a great show. I'm so glad that members of the original team were able to be there to see it. And I was talking with Nick a little before and after the show how there is something when you're doing a show about teens, like the kids in the Stranger Things television show. They're teens. They're 12, 13 years old. He told the cast that, adults playing those roles, they miss some things. It's been a while since some of them have been 12 and 13 years old. So when you see a show about 12 and 13-year-olds performed by 12 and 13-year-olds, they bring a realness to it that simply can't do, and it's magical. And that's what he told them, and I totally agreed. And we talked about how there are some things that just land in our show that didn't land in the original production. Some jokes that are just kind of tossed in, or some one-liners or observations that some of the kids make, they didn't really land that often in the New York City production, but in ours, they hit it, and the audience erupted into laughter. And I'm so excited to have four more shows, 4 more performances of this show. I'm honored to have been a part of it. Stranger Things, I don't know how to put this into any other way to say that Stranger Things saved my life. It changed my trajectory of my entire life. This quirky, corny musical that my friend Josh almost literally dragged me to. Like, I had seen advertisements for it, and it looked interesting. I liked Stranger Things. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to see it if I can make the time. But he was like, no, you've got to come see it. And so I went with Josh one night to see the show, to see Stranger Things at Playhouse 46, which is now my #1 employer. All connected, all about Stranger Things changing my life. Took me to the show at Playhouse 46, and I just fell in love with it. Ended up volunteering to usher so that I could see it more often, and just start to get involved into the theater scene there. Volunteered, ushered for quite some time. Did it enough that when it got extended, they offered me to come on as a paid usher, and I was like, heck yeah, I'll do that. And then the next show that came up after Stranger Things, unfortunately, closed a little prematurely than we all wanted it to. But the show after that, I was offered the position of head usher at Playhouse 46, and I accepted that. And then when that show closed, I was going to be head usher for the next show, but we hadn't had a bartender hired yet, and they asked me if I wanted to bartend. And I was like, yeah, sure, I've done that. And I've got my alcohol handler's certificate and all that kind of stuff. So I'm now bartending at I'm the only bartender that does most of the shows, except when I'm off doing a show like this, at Playhouse 46. And it's a great group of people to work with. The show that's there right now is phenomenal. But anyway, all of that started with my friend dragging me to see Stranger Things. Several months ago, I came with my friend Josh to see a show at the theater where we're doing this show. And I met the owner of the theater, the person who's like running the things, and we saw that Stranger Things was their next show, and they had an audition notice for it, and we were so excited, and I offered to help with the props, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to help with the props. I like building things, I like doing things like that. A couple weeks passed, and I had spoken with them about how I've directed in the past, and how I've done a lot of theater in the past, and how I was I was an usher at the Stranger Things in New York City, and I saw the show. I lost track close to 100 times probably. And a couple weeks passed, and they reached out to me and they asked me if I wanted to direct this show, since I was so familiar with the production. And I gave it a little bit of thought. It didn't take long, but I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so for 3 months, I commuted once or twice a week, back and forth from Brooklyn to Sayville, New York, and that takes about an hour and a half, and about $30 round trip, which was not totally expected, but I made it work. They helped out with travel expenses, and I did a couple extra sound gigs in the city just to kind of help pay for my commute, and here we are. We had some challenges with the cast, or not the cast, but the whole production. We had some illnesses. We had to cancel more rehearsals than I would have liked due to a couple cases of COVID, including myself, some sicknesses in the production team. There were a couple times when I got off work too late in the city to make it to the train to get to Long Island in a reasonable amount of time because of the travel time and the train schedules and stuff. And so we decided on some of those cases I just stayed home, and that was fine. The kids worked through it. Phyllis Kay, the producer of the show and the one who runs the theater, just did a phenomenal job. Make sure I'm not. No, this is Great River. I got 2 more stops. So, and then a couple nights before the show, some of the kids started getting sick. We had one cast member miss the final dress rehearsal, which is always a little nerve-wracking, but it was fine. Well, it wasn't at the time, but I kept a calm face, as one should, and he's better now. Something I learned not too long ago, just in the last few months, is that if you show up, if you wake up in a day and like everybody has their levels, the number of spoons or whatever, a percentage that they can give. If you wake up and you only have the spoons to give 60% that day, like you don't have it within you to give your every ounce, and if you give that 60%, then you've given 100% of what you were capable of doing that day. And if we apply that to our lives, then I think it makes us not feel guilty or bad when we have off days. And we all have off days, but if you give your best on those off days, then you've given 100%. And that's all I ever expected of my cast. That's really all I ever expect of myself, is to give 100%. Some days, your 100%, it might be, if you compare it to the rest of, if you compare it to your best, it might be 20%. But if you give that 20%, then you've given 100% of yourself that day. And that's commendable. And so kudos. So anyway, I gotta start getting ready for my stop. I got one more after this. If you're watching this, I don't know how you found me. I'm just testing a new streaming app, and really liking it. I wanted to show a little bit of the very usually pretty country, but we are in winter now. All the leaves are gone, but Long Island is very pretty. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching if you are, and stay safe, and I will see you hopefully at one of the performances this weekend. 2 performances today, 2 performances tomorrow. 2 and 7, 2 and 7. Take care, bye. And that's Pride Performing Arts in Sayville, New York.